Says one more question. I have been using Ghost Browser to log into all of my listings and work on them in different browsers without having to log in and out and use VPNs and such things like that. I know in one of your videos you said Google doesn't mind all the listings coming from one IP anymore. Do you think Google can one day change their mind and suspend all listings coming from the same IP, for example, if there was too many listings created from one IP? You know, that I don't know. I don't work for Google, and I don't know what that threshold may be. I mean, it's likely that if you're doing, you know, dozens and dozens of GMB verifications from the same IP, even if there's different browsing sessions, like unique Google profiles with different browsing sessions and browsing histories and all of that, that's what Ghost Browser does, right? It keeps all of that intact. But if it's all coming from the same IP, that could be a flag that triggers suspension of all of them. I don't know. I don't work for Google. I can't answer that question. It's logical that that could happen.
But I will bring Essie in for this last question, because I'm going to ask her. We went through this. We went through whether to use Browsio, whether to use Ghost Browser, or whether to use
Firefox profiles.
Firefox session. How did you solve it? I mean, don't give away what you did, or exactly how you did it. But how did you solve it?
Tricky. I'm not sure, of course, about the how much it can be triggering to Google if you're doing all these listings. What is actually the limit of listings? I don't think it will have any impact in the end. Firefox works in a similar way as Ghost Browser with its private profiles. So what it does, it keeps all of your information separated from one browsing session to the other, one login to the other. So, but of course, they are all connected to one IP. We're not using proxies anymore, which means that if it's going to trigger some negative impact on Google, it will do it anyway. So on the terms of deciding if it's going to be Firefox or Ghost Browser, in my opinion, it will end up being almost the same thing. For his question in the end, though, I wouldn't actually be sure. I think you guys would be able to give a more certain answer on that.
Of course, but my question was more, you work with Firefox, but you're not using proxies, although you could use proxies.
I'm not using proxies. I've been using Firefox and the option that it offers with Firefox profiles, and it works basically in the same way that Ghost Browser works with its sections and different, keeping everything separated from one another. So if we're going to compare those two, I would say they work in the same way. Now, if we're going to determine if this way is going to cause Google to, I don't know, suspend these listings in the end, that is something that I cannot say for sure.
All right, Essie, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Essie. So there you go. And remember, like, you know, Ghost Browser, I think, just adds some convenience, makes it a little bit easier than doing like separate Firefox profiles or sessions. But, you know, it can be done manually too without the monthly expense. So there you go. And that will be covered in Syndication Academy version 3, thanks to Essie. So.
Yep.